Hello, and welcome to HP LoadRunner and Performance Center 11.5.2, What's New? My name is Scott Anderson. I'm the Iowa Vivit chapter leader. I work at Aviva as a test automation engineer. Next slide, please. Today's event is brought to you by HP. From a housekeeping perspective, and there's some prize drawings. I think most people have had a chance to join in, so we're going to get started. We have two prize drawings for a $100 American Express gift card. The first drawing will be for everyone who entered into the drawing during registration. The second drawing will be from everyone who's on the line now. Both drawings will take place after today's webinar. The winners will be notified by email, so watch your inbox, and thank you for joining us. Today's session is being recorded and will be posted on Vivit's website. The recording will be accessible by all Vivit members. We will send that on email with the link to the recording. We will hold a Q&A session the last 30 minutes of our time together. Please type your questions into the questions pane as we go along, and we will answer them at the end. Our next slide, please. Our presenters today are Sylvia Siquiera, Worldwide Senior Product Marketing Manager from HP Software, Shane Evans, Worldwide Product Manager, HP Software. And now I'm going to hand it over to Sylvia.
Yes, thank you so much, Scott, for the nice introduction, and thanks everyone for joining us to this webinar today. We are very excited to provide you what's new in HP Performance Center and LoadRunner version 11.5.2. And I just want to bring to the attention that we also have in the line Gurmeen Aneja, that is the product manager for Performance Center. So she's going to be helping us with questions as well in case you guys have it. And to start with, I would like to just make a little bit interactive, and I would like to know a little bit more about you guys that are in the line. So my first question, I would like to kind of put a full question here. My first question for you guys is, what products are you currently using to execute performance testing? Are you using LoadRunner, Performance Center, LoadRunner and Performance Center, or are you using no HP solutions? And Stephanie, could you please put the poll up?
Okay, the poll is up and open for voting, and the votes are coming in.
Okay, perfect. So I want you guys to vote, and I want to know more about you and what you're doing today in terms of using our solutions. That would be great to at least know a little bit about your environment.
Okay, they're still coming in. I think still coming in. Almost there. Okay. Just a few more coming in. All right, I'll close the poll. And here's the results. All right, Scott?
All right, so what we see is 38% are using LoadRunner, 22% are using HP Performance Center, 38% are using HP LoadRunner and HP Performance Center, and 11% are using non-HP solutions.
Oh, that's very interesting results. A little bit different than what I could expect, but that's so cool to know that we have majority of you guys using our solutions, and we also have people that are not using our solutions. That's awesome, because then you can also hear about what's new in our version, and then maybe leverage for your projects. And then just one more question that I would like to kind of go through is, what version are you currently using if you are using LoadRunner or Performance Center? So version 11.5.2, that's the latest one. Have you already upgraded for that? Are you using the previous version 11.5.1, 11.5.0, the version 11, or even under version 9? So Stephanie, could you go ahead and open the poll?
Okay, the poll is officially open and the votes are coming in.
Yeah, please take a minute. So I want to know about you guys.
Great, and they're still coming in.
Perfect.
Okay, I think that's, oh, there's a few more. Okay, I'm going to close the poll, and here are the results, Scott.
All right, what we see is 14% are using 11.5.2, 11% are using 11.5.1, 14% are using 11.5, 48% are using 11, and 13% are using version 9 or under.
Awesome. Yeah, very good news. Very good to know that we have already some people using 11.5.2 version. That's very good news. And let's see if we can get you guys from the version 11 to move it to 11.5 or even 11.5.2, because 11.5.2, as we're going to see, brings a lot of new features that is going to help you with many areas that I'm going to talk about. Okay, so that's pretty good. Let me just go back here to the presentation. I'm sorry, let me open here. And then what I want to ask you guys is, how long do you wait for your mobile applications to respond? It's interesting that companies now, they are basically measured by how the application works sometimes in the mobile environment. Mobile has been exploding, right? Even though this presentation is not about mobile, but I want to bring that because I want to just kind of let you think about how performance, how your job is important within the IT organization and within your organization to bring success to the business. So many customers today, they run applications on mobile or even the web, and then they go back, they're very happy, and they rate your application. They give you 5 stars, 4 stars, and that's perfect because the application is working and functioning as they expect. So today it's very important to measure performance as well as functional and as well as security. So application performance is becoming essential for the business success. And with that, I would just want to mention that we focus a lot in this version as well in providing agility, mobile resources, and also creating a more large community for you. I'm sorry about this screen here that's popping up. But anyway, so moving along, I want to kind of talk about what we work on in this version. So as I mentioned, the business in mobile is increasing a lot. So one of the focus that we did is ensure that our application, our solution provide you and support you in the mobile performance testing. Second point that we work in this version 11.5.2 is to help you to deliver applications faster. Again, with this mobile world, companies are forced to be more agile. Companies are forced to deliver applications faster. And how you can continue delivering continuous tests faster and deliver your applications according to the SLAs faster. So we also work in some of the capabilities to provide you additional features to make your performance test faster and also deliver the application faster to the market. And then the next point is basically regarding to learn and share the community faster. So about that, we brought to you a feature that's integrated with a new platform that HP has that is called HP Live Network. And then this platform basically helps to bring the community together, not just you guys, but the partners and also the HP folks together. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but I just want to mention that it's one more way to grow our community and share everything that you want to share with the community easier through the ViewGen. So, and besides of that, we are also always work to expand the performance test footprint to modern applications, to modern platforms. So we are always enhance the current protocols and the current support to current and modern platforms that you guys work to. So moving along, let's kind of navigate in a little more details. For those that are not too familiar with our solution, I just want to mention the components here for the 11% that are not using the solution, right, HP LoadRunner. I just want to quickly mention here how our solution works. So basically, we have the end user that uses our application. So the end users, we have components called ViewGen when we can alter the scripts, and these scripts basically simulate any transaction. And then with that, you are allowed to simulate thousands of users within the application to understand the performance load within the environment and see how that's going to impact the back end. So we have the component number 1, that's the ViewGen, the virtual generator that you use to create the scripts. We have the component number 2, is where we plan and control the load tests. That's the piece that we call controller. We also have the component number 3, that's the load generator that allows you to execute the test from different locations. So you can even simulate the load from different regions around the global. And then we have the component number 4. When you are executing the test, we measure the impact through some monitoring solutions. So HP LoadRunner includes the site scope monitoring. That's a solution for monitoring and operations from HP. So you are allowed to also monitor the impact as you're doing your test. And then we also provide the analysis regarding to the results that we have. That's the component number 5. Within component number 4, I would say we can also leverage our diagnostic solution where you can do some profiling in your applications to do root cause analysis when you're executing the test. So this is all the components that we have, but what we're bringing in the version 11.5.2 is the integration with, as I mentioned, with the HP Live Network, a new component within LoadRunner and Performance Center. So moving along now, let's talk more about the version 11.5.2. What we have. So regarding to delivering application faster, we noticed that from the version 11.5.0, because we created a whole new virtual generator, there was some kind of the performance issues that were reported. So we noticed that was a little bit slow than customers wanted. And then we worked very hard to improve now the performance across the ViewGen, the analysis, and also the controller. So that's great because this version is a lot more faster than the 11.5.0. So we had the performance and usability and functionality kind of items added in this area here. There is also some kind of additional items that were added in this version. Now we have a replay summary report that's now display as soon as you finish your test with within the controller before seeing the analysis. And that helps too because you can see already some of the information that are the results regarding into your test. We also improved the runtime settings, the user interface, and we also add also some configuration about the round robin method to ramp up in between the load generator. So those are some of the areas that we work for help you to improve the application and deliver applications faster. But not just that, we also have a major, I would say, feature now implementing this version 11.5.2. As I mentioned before, many of you guys are working in an agile environment. And for that, we need to bring more the integration within the development team and performance testers, performance engineers. So we have some integrations that were done with our Visual Studio and the Eclipse platform. We also now support JUnit and NUnit and Selenium tests as part of the LoadRunner scenarios, and that's a big thing. And then one more step that is a great step is also we add the integration within Jenkins. So that also helps to automate the testing, scheduling, and execution. So this brings very, very great benefits for you. And then I just want to take a pause here, and I know that Shane is in the line. Shane, can you add on here more in terms of what benefits, what these great features bring to our users?
Right, Cynthia. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. So these three things are our attempt to try and move performance testing further left in the life cycle, further upstream, as it were, and get more in touch with the developers. So first is the IDE plugins for Visual Studio and Eclipse. We did have a Visual Studio plugin prior to this release, but we've expanded the capabilities there to allow developers to leverage the LoadRunner APIs and create single-user performance tests with their own environments, that they don't need to go into ViewGen or LoadRunner to be able to execute that and get some sense of performance early on. The second is using the Selenium or JUnit or NUnit unit tests. This is something that developers are doing anyways, so we want to be able to leverage what the developers are using and creating during their unit testing and execute that as part of a scenario in the LoadRunner controller. So this does require a license for LoadRunner, but from our perspective, it allows us to scale up those unit tests into the thousands or tens of thousands of virtual users to be able to see that those individual components can scale before the application is completely assembled. And the last step is, as application code is checked in and builds are completed, we're able to automatically kick off a performance test, kind of a baseline test, each and every time there's a build, rather than scheduling and synchronizing with developers and understanding, necessarily where and when those builds take place. We can just create this this job within Jenkins that automatically kicks off the test as soon as the build is completed, and then we're able to see the results of those tests based on the SLAs that we've defined. So for those of you who are new to LoadRunner, within the scenario where we define how many users, what's the ramp up, how many transactions we're targeting during our tests, we can define an SLA around response times or hits per second or any metric that we can collect within the performance test to tell us whether or not, at a high level, that test is passed or failed.
Yeah, thanks, Shane. That's awesome. And another feature that we brought, actually, I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with the virtual table server. I'm sure that many of you are. So we create a new VTS, and we are going to be showing a little bit more about that in the demo. We're going to have a demo as well in this presentation. So basically, the VTS provides a centralized storage of the data, and that helps you to basically redo the test whenever you have the data. So it's kind of even faster than the NoSQL database for sharing those in between the virtual users. And then we basically improve, and then the interface is a lot easier to be used now. So Shane is going to be showing that in a few minutes, but then we can go through a little bit more in details later. The other point that I want to bring, as we mentioned, and that I start to talk about mobile, right? Mobile brings a new kind of I would say, idea about doing tests compared to the web environment. Sometimes we're just thinking that doing mobile tests in terms of performance or even functional is kind of the same as web, but in some way that might be different because you have a lot more variables than in other environments that you usually test. And another point that people doesn't realize is that mobile apps might impact as well the current application that you might have running in your environment. And how that can be is just because sometimes, let's say how many times you are waiting for an application to respond in your mobile, and then if you don't see it, what you do, you basically move around, and then you try again, and you try again, and let's say instead to maybe 10 times trying in a web application, in the mobile you're going to try 10 times even more, right? And then that's basically inputs that you're doing, or even you are hitting the application. And then this hit might even impact, I would say, the back end of the application. So it's a lot more complex sometimes to test and to understand all the issues that the mobile performance can cause in your even data center or your back end. And that's important, again, to have that visibility before implementing your mobile applications. And I know that a lot of companies, they are starting this process, and a lot of companies, they are still not doing that. And then just to open a parenthesis here, we are going to be doing some additional webinars to even focus a little more in the mobile and showing more details in how to test the mobile applications. But for this webinar, I just want to point out that we brought some enhancements here. We have already implemented some of the solutions for mobile testing before in the previous versions, but for this one, we brought a new HP mobile recorder for applications for Android platform. So as you can see here in my screen now, what you can do is you can download an app in your Android phone. You just can go to the Google Store, App Store, and download the LoadRunner mobile recorder. And then you can execute those transactions to your phone and then leverage that to execute the test. We also implement a new proxy recording within the HP LoadRunner Performance Center. What happens is we did have this proxy recording feature a long time, but I want to bring up that we basically redid that proxy recording. There is a lot more capabilities compared to the previous one, and then even more strong for mobile testing. We also have some documentation that helps you to select the best method to record this application. And I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with the Shenra network virtualization. Basically, we had some enhancements on that area as well. But I want to bring up that HP has been working with Shenra network for a couple of years now. And now we have OEM even agreement with them. And that's part of our solution as well to go to market to bring the solution as LoadRunner to do your mobile performance testing. But if you want also to understand the network characteristics, then basically network behavior within your test, you can bring Shenra as well, the Shenra capabilities. The value in bringing Shenra is immensely big because then together with your regular mobile performance testing that LoadRunner Performance Center provides to you, you already can also detect issues for the network and add in your test and have a more realistic results in how that performance results are going to be. And then within mobile, we talk a lot about Shenra within mobile because people that use applications on mobile, they are always on the go. And then whenever you are moving place to place, you need to remind that you are also moving from network to network, tower to tower, and depending on the locations, you might even have different providers or different types of communications. So it's important to identify those issues as well and plug in your test and have a definitive or more clear network characteristics within your test. So the Shenra network virtualization software and solution brings a lot of value when you are doing mobile testing, and that's how we position and suggest you to go for. I want also to take a minute here to say that we do have a great promotion being running now, and I would suggest you to either contact us or even your sales rep. The promotion includes a Shenra network virtualization. It's a very great discount opportunity for you. It starts on your mobile test, and if you have already started your mobile test, basically you can add on some term licenses to even increase your test if you need for some particular project. So this promotion is being run by HP for customers that have HP LoadRunner and also HP Performance Center. And the promotion can include a controller, Web 2.0 protocols, plus the Shenra network virtualization. So we definitely can provide additional information on this promotion for you guys. It's a way for you to start or even continue doing your tests within mobile. And Shane is going to be showing a little bit more as we go through this presentation. He's going to show the demo how that works. And then also regarding to the HP Live Network, I mentioned that before, right? And you might be asking how this works. I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with this platform, HP Live Network, but basically a platform where we can upload and download, I would say, functions, DFEs, or even some IPs, or even some scripts, or even some protocols that you have created that you want to share with the community. The difference in between HP Live Network and the forums is that within the forum, you cannot really share a lot of documents, but you can always ask questions, and there is a large community there that helps to answer. Even the support team helps that. But with this, it's basically even a repository, and we can allow you guys to upload some of your, I would say, smart kind of the codes that you want to share with the community. And as well, you have the possibility to see what others are doing and download within ViewGen. So this screen that you guys are seeing, and also Shane is going to quickly show that, is basically from ViewGen, you can have we can open directly HP Live Network, do a search in particular components that you might be looking for or need, and then you can download and you can already install and execute in your environment. So great opportunity for you to share what you have, and great opportunity even to see what people are sharing and leveraging our work. We want to make this community grow, and we want to make this community to share stuff or even components that might be useful for each other. And that's a great possibility for that. We also have partners, and if I have partners in the line, please feel free to contact us. You can open and create screens, I would say, portal within HP Live Network, and you can share as well additional, I would say, functions, DFEs, correlation rules, whatever you have to create that you see that's important for the community, something that you see that you can share, just talk to us, and we are going to be able to create a page for you partners as well, so you're out there for the community. So not just that, but as I mentioned, we continue to increase our footprint to modern applications. So we have additional support for IPv6. We also added some Linux for load generator distributions. We also have some protocols enhancements, very many protocols we enhance as well in this version. And we also enhance the capabilities on the browser, some browsers that we support. So here's just some examples of the capabilities that we have within the Linux distribution with the Red Hat, the Oracle, and the others, and also the versions that you are supporting. You guys are going to receive right after this webinar as well a data sheet that has additional information on that. We're going to make also this available as Scott mentioned before. So in terms of presentation, that's pretty much it. And I want to turn now to Shane, and Shane is going to demonstrate some of these capabilities that I went through. Stephanie, if you can change the presenter to Shane, I appreciate. Shane, with you.
Thanks, Sylvia. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. It's hard to tell from my side. I wanted to do a quick time check. How much time do we have left on the call?
Oh, we have about 30 minutes yet to go, but I would say maybe 20 minutes because then we can have some time before the questions.
Sure. Okay. So I kind of wanted to step back a bit for those of you who have not seen LoadRunner 11.5 and introduce the new virtual user generator. This is a complete rewrite of the VUGen or virtual user generator tool that has been in LoadRunner for well over a decade. It's not just a shiny new skin on an old tool, but in fact a total overhaul of the capabilities of this tool. So it's much more customizable, much more user-friendly. We've modified the behavior in some ways, and for example, done away with the tree view. I'm actually just going to open up a script here and kind of demonstrate as we go through, and I'll cover some of the mobile stuff as well. So as those of you familiar with LoadRunner know, we have a very wide range of supported technologies, ranging from the underlying database to individual languages such as Java, .NET, all the way through to higher level protocols like TrueClient, which I will demonstrate in a moment as well for those of you not familiar. So there's a number of different ways to solve each problem when we're trying to test our applications. I'm just going to open up a mobile script here. And we'll walk a bit through some of the new features of VUGen, as well as mobile recording itself. And this is one of two mobile protocols that was introduced in LoadRunner 11 patch 3, the second being the mobile TrueClient, which I'll demonstrate shortly as well. So the first thing you'll notice is the Solution Explorer on the left. This allows us to work with multiple scripts simultaneously, so we can share information between them quite easily. Things like parameters, runtime settings, and code between the different scripts. And we can create a kind of a solution that ties a bunch of scripts together in a logical way, so that when we're creating a scenario, for example, we have scripts that are related to each other. And as I mentioned, the new UI is much more customizable, much more flexible. We have these different layouts that are provided, and these you can modify these to your own liking, or you can create your own layouts as well. So we have the default debug, which provides a different view, and this is the step navigator, which actually replaces the tree view from previous versions, and it's much more flexible. It's easily filtered, and it's synchronized with the script view, so that I don't have to switch back and forth between tree view and script view depending on what type of information I need. And again, I can take these components, move them around to my liking. I might decide that I want to see a number of other components as well. So I'm actually just going to jump into a recording here to show what's new in ViewGen, but also in mobile. When we introduced the mobile applications protocol, this is a transport-based protocol similar to Web HTTP that provides a set of configurations, preset configurations that make recording mobile traffic easier. For the initiated, recording mobile has been a capability of LoadRunner for many years. We've just overhauled the features to make them easier to work with. And we have a few here that were introduced in 11 patch 3, and that's the record and analyze traffic, where we can take a capture file from either the local machine or the server that is being used in the application, or any traffic capture capable device, and this is using standard PCAP recordings. Okay. And we can scan through those for the information that we need to generate a script. So for example, if I go into analyze traffic here, I'll be asked for an emulator, or sorry, a capture file, and then I'll be able to set filters either based on the server side and maybe all traffic that hit that server on that port, or the client. And the client might be one mobile device that we're targeting. And then we have, of course, the option to decrypt any encrypted traffic in that recording. We also have the record emulator capability, which allows us to actually launch an emulator on the local machine. In this case, I have the Android emulator. I've created a virtual device based on the latest version of Android operating system, and then I simply start recording from there. And the last, which is the latest introduced in 11.52, is the proxy recording capability. And this is using a standard HTTP proxy that allows us to set up my machine as a proxy server for any and all traffic that's going through it. I had intended on actually recording some traffic here today using this feature on my mobile. And unfortunately, the hotel that I'm staying at the moment doesn't allow devices to see each other. But essentially what happens here is that we define a port, and then on the mobile device, we would use that port as our proxy server. And I have this option to display a recording toolbar on the client machine. Now, while this is targeted towards mobile, this is also available in our Web HTTP protocol, and allows us to capture traffic from Mac machines, Linux, or any other device we can't install ViewGen on. And this toolbar will display the same recording toolbar that we would see in ViewGen when we're recording, minus the transaction count. But it would give us the ability to start and stop and pause the recording from the client machine where we're creating traffic. The other thing I wanted to show quickly was the mobile true client protocol before I move on to other things. And this is a fifth way to capture traffic for mobile. And this is more specifically geared towards mobile web applications residing on a device. So we're not actually going to record from the device itself, but we will emulate the browser for different mobile devices. And we have a pre-populated list here, but we can add to this list quite easily. This is simply the most popular devices at the time of release, and we'll continue to keep this updated. But what happens when we select the device here is we create a user agent from that device, as well as the display size that gives us our mobile web emulation. And then the true client recorder appears, and I have this little window here that's emulating my mobile device. So for example, think of a site that has a good mobile interface. I think it's Reddit. When I hit record here, I'll see a set of user activities in TrueClient that show me the steps that I've interacted with in the application, the objects that I'm clicking on. I'll work a little bit more with this in a second. For example, I can upvote, downvote. Of course, I need to log in. I don't want to do that. I can go into one of these, see a picture, etc. All the while, TrueClient's recording my activities here, but when I stop recording, I can work with this. This is my script now, and I can move steps around. I can insert or remove steps. For example, I want to remove this step. I just hit delete. I don't want to do any of these login ones. I've got a toolbar that allows me to insert additional steps simply by dragging and dropping them into the script. I've got functions where I can verify objects within the application at runtime. I can insert flow control, if, then, else statements. Miscellaneous, where I can insert custom code from JavaScript or C that I might have from some of my older scripts. We can insert transactions on individual steps or for the entire process using the transaction editor. And I can create function libraries which allow for reuse between scripts. For example, if I had a set of activities that represented a login for a more complex set of transactions, I can capture that login, create a function library of it, and then import that into other scripts so that I don't have to create that login activity for each and every script. So here when I create a transaction, simply define what is the start and stop events. And I have a wide range of events here to choose from the moment that the step is started to when the content is loaded into memory, or when the document's completed loading. Or I can just leave it automatic. And that's basically TrueClient in a nutshell. When I save and close the script, this is my script editor. As I mentioned, I'll see a representation of this back in ViewGen. But effectively, that's the script that I'd be working with. And the other thing we wanted to mention was the virtual table server. Now, for those of you who've been using LoadRunner for a while, you may have heard of the virtual table server. It was a application that was created from our professional services organization years ago, but never officially supported by HP. What we've done in this release is created an all-new virtual table server, and this gives us the ability to centrally store our parameter data for our virtual users and access those from different users at runtime. And this allows for some very complex user scenarios where in maybe a workflow application or SAP, for example, we can create a record from one virtual user and then consume it from another during the same test, so that we don't have to create these complex types of algorithms or functions that allow us to determine what that information is. We simply, from one virtual user, store the data in the virtual table server, and from another virtual user, consume it. So this is the user interface that we're looking at, assuming everyone can still see my screen. And this allows us to import data, export it. I can start from scratch here and just show you exactly that process. I can import from a database. I can define my custom SQL statement for that, or I can import from a CSV file. And if I go into demo assets, I can import my data here. I can edit the data directly from this interface, so I don't have to continuously go back and forth between import and export. I can perform actions on the entire table, so I can insert columns, I can insert additional data from files and join them within the repository here. And all of this is stored within the file server or the virtual table server, so it's persistent. I don't have to continuously update this to manage it. This allows me to save a lot of time in my scripting as well, by not having to manage assets, parameters between various scripts. I can just have everything stored here, and then I know that it's up to date, and I can create some logic around how I use or store this data. We create the access port here, and this is used by the functions within our scripts to capture and store this data. And we can set the access from scripts as disabled or enabled, so that when I'm working with the data, there's not a risk of people contaminating it. This is, as Sylvia mentioned, using a very fast NoSQL database, and we have customers who've been using this since before we released, that have tested into the thousands of transactions per second. So it's proving to be very scalable. The other thing I wanted to demonstrate quickly before we go to questions is the Jenkins plugin. Now, Jenkins allows us to create build jobs that developers use to manage the build of their software in a test environment. And what we would do here is, as part of that build job, we have an add-in available on the Jenkins wiki from HP that supports UFT, or Unified Functional Testing, as well as LoadRunner. It allows us to insert load tests from the file system as part of that build process. So I'll quickly go through it here, and it happens very quick, so I'll stop and explain as it goes here. So I'm creating a job. The job's going to perform some other tasks as well, but at the end of this, we're going to execute an HP test from the file system. In this case, it's going to be a LoadRunner scenario. I provide some very simple settings, such as the timeout, polling interval, scenario execution timeout. So if there's any issues, but I'm not, continuously running up against the wall before we fail out of that. We then create our post-build actions, which is to archive, in this case, the test report for all tests. When I hit build now, the test is going to run, and I'll simply see the test results. It's really that simple. So assuming you have a LoadRunner scenario already defined and you have SLAs within that, it's just a few clicks to add that scenario to a Jenkins build job to have consistent execution of baseline tests each and every time there's a build. And Sylvia, was there one other thing? I think yes. Sorry, the virtual or
HP Live Network.
HP Live Network, yes. Right. So the HP Live Network, as Sylvia mentioned earlier, is our HP repository for content across HP software. So actually, if I go back to the home here, you'll see there's a lot of other products available. And unlike the user forums where we're typically just working with other users and with support to ask questions and find a resolution, in each of these we have content from partners, from HP, from user community, and we can share and reuse that content much easier. Excuse me. On the second page here, we have the HP LoadRunner and Performance Center community. And within that, we have some content. So this is actually my view. There's going to be a few extra options here that you won't see as a user and the administrator. But within the community content, we have some downloads. And within downloads, we have best practices. These are guides that HP publishes in our R&D team, working with customers and with our support teams to come to the best practices for each of these areas. And we're always interested in other areas that users would like to see additional best practices. And we spend a lot of time investing in our documentation and making sure that you can find the help that you need. But if there's ever a need for something more, at the end of this webinar, I believe there's going to be some contact information for us. Just reach out to us, let us know. But also, through HP Live Network, we are allowing partners and users to share content from the tools themselves. So in this case, we have a few examples from one of our lead developers, Ido Berkovich. And these are function libraries and code that can actually be downloaded and reused from within, within Virtual User Generator directly. So I think I saw my scenario or my script open here. Can I close that? And it seems Firefox has hung on me. So they need to kill that. Always the case when you're trying to show something. I find that these virtual rooms tend to create some strangeness. I'll just reopen View Gen, and we'll fire up that HP Live Network connection and allow me to see that content that we have here and then download it. It's kind of an analogy to an app store. If we have a new version of the content, the Live Network connector will recognize that we have a new version available and update the assets accordingly. Now, in this initial release, we have three main areas that we're focusing on: actions or function libraries, correlation rules, and DFEs. And for those of you not familiar with DFEs, these are data format extensions that allow us to translate different data types between one another. So, for example, if we have an application that is base64 encoded, we can convert that to XML so that it's easier to read and work with those assets. With those applications. Things like JSON are becoming very popular. It's pretty much the standard in application APIs right now. And we have a data format extension that can translate JSON into much more readable XML as well. And allow us to parameterize and work with those complex data sets. So for each of these examples that I have showing, I can simply download directly from HP Live Network, and I'll see a version here. This will only be applicable to the version that I have installed, so if I upgrade later, the asset might be tied to that version, or it might carry forward depending on the author's implementation. We're also looking at add-ins for Virtual User Generator, which, by the way, when this is done downloading, I will show you. So I have this now, this get IP user function downloaded to my Virtual User Generator, and now I can start working with it. But the other thing I wanted to mention here, in the community content or in this start page that we see here, there's a what's new, which shows kind of the latest for each release, and you can go back. There's a direct link to the community, which are posts that we create to try and connect with you, the users. There's additional links to documentation, function references, and best practices, and then we have a direct link to our support. Within the community, we have an example here that I'd like to show you on how to extend the use of VUGen and create add-ins of your own. So this is beyond the HP Live Network example of individual function libraries and data format extensions. We really want to promote the extensibility of VUGen, and we're doing that through these examples. We've had partners and customers create add-ins of their own, some of which they're looking to monetize on, but others that are just going to be shared within the community. And at some point, we'll look to connect these into VUGen as well in a more automated way. But for now, I would suggest, if you're interested, to go have a look at this example from one of our system architect, Boris. Gives an example project and all of the code needed to get you started on creating your own add-in for Virtual User Generator. And that's all up on Git. So you can pull from that, work with it, do what you like. We're excited to see what the user can come up with, or what the community can come up with, excuse me. And I think that was it for me, Sylvia. Did we want to take some questions?
Good. That's awesome, yeah. So before even going to the questions, Stephanie, do you want to change the presenter to me? That would be great. And then we are going to go, I just want to do one more question for you guys that are sitting there and watching basically this webinar here. I want just to go quickly and do one more quick question here. Based on, actually, let me just minimize the question area in here. Okay, so you guys probably are seeing my screen. I have a full question number 3. Based on this presentation, what features are the most important to your job today? So the features to accelerate your test execution, like the performance that were done, integration with development tools that you mentioned, the Jenkins, the Visual Studio, the mobile capabilities, the HP Live Network, or even none of the above. So tell me what one of these features that you present to you today is going to be very important for your day job. So Stephanie, you open the poll now. So everyone, if you can just answer that one. And then you're going to jump right away in the questions. And we have very good questions here as well. And we're going to answer some of those as much as we can.
Okay, Sylvia, I'm going to close the poll. And Scott, here are the results for you.
All right, so the features that are most important, 74% said accelerate your test execution. 48% said integration with developers' tools. 46% said mobile. 24% said the HP Live Network, and 1% said none of the above.
Good to hear, though, because it seems that the features are going to really help everyone in this call. I really appreciate that. So let's jump to the questions. Scott, do you mind to read the questions out loud that we have for us today? And we're going to go ahead and help to answer those.
Okay. So the first question is there any documentation or training available on creating transaction scripts using AJAX, SAP, HTTP, Java, and Citrix protocols.
Yeah, Shane, do you want to take that one?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch all that. I apologize.
Basically, is there any documentation or training available for different protocols like AJAX, SAP, HTTP, Java, and Citrix?
There is actually. We have available on our training site, HP software training. I can't remember the URL offhand, so if you know it. But there are courses available for virtual instructor-led training, or you can have an instructor from HP, or even a partner. We have many authorized training partners that can provide this. But there's two levels. There's the basic how to use HP LoadRunner, and then there's more advanced protocol training. And some of the ones that were mentioned are included in that more advanced protocol training. It's just really to serve as a foundation on how to use the tool more effectively rather than downloading it and jumping right in. We do really recommend that everybody take at least some level of training.
Yeah, and then just to complement, we are going to be posting these questions as well for you, and we're going to be answering those questions also right after if your question doesn't get answered, or even a follow-up that you might have to do. For this example, providing the web link for you, that we can provide that after the webinar. Next question, Scott.
What protocol should I use to test iOS?
That's a good question. I would really recommend using the mobile applications protocol, and this allows you to capture traffic from any platform, regardless of operating system. So most applications on iOS are using HTTP's communication, and you can capture that using either the proxy recording method or using a PCAP recording from either the application server or some network device. And we include a tool within LoadRunner 11.5, I believe, or actually as far back as 11.03, that allows you to capture that traffic as well.
All right. When will Chrome's True Client be available?
Always get one of these, and the only answer I can officially give from HP is soon. We are working on supporting Chrome in a coming release.
What type of data can I find in HP Live Networks?
Currently, we're in very early stages. We're working with partners and the community to kind of beef up the data, the information that's, or the content that's available in the HP Live Network. But for right now, just what I showed, there's some examples, there's the best practices guides, but be sure to check on that frequently because we've seen a lot of interest from the community, and we're hoping that people can get out there and contribute.
Are there detailed instructions or examples available for integration with JUnit, NUnit, and Selenium?
There are, yes. So within the documentation, the virtual user guide, virtual user generator guide, sorry, there's full documentation on how to leverage those assets within LoadRunner. And essentially what we're doing is you would skip the virtual user generator at that point and just create your scenario by pointing to those assets from the unit test tools and create your scenario from those.
Slide 212 has a note at the bottom that indicates some features are only available for LoadRunner, but there aren't any asterisks. Are there any, which features are only available for LoadRunner?
Good, excellent point. So when we're talking about leveraging unit tests, that's not yet available in Performance Center, only LoadRunner. And the Jenkins plugin, although there is a Jenkins plugin for ALM, it does not yet support Performance Center tests. Now, from the Performance Center perspective, we're taking a somewhat different approach and working with more open APIs to enable continuous delivery from within Performance Center, and that's something we can expect to see in a coming release as well.
Is Shunra part of the LoadRunner 11.5.2 solution, or do you need a separate license?
Good question. Actually, I'd meant to focus a little more time on that. In 11.5.2, we've actually worked with Shenra to create an all-new integration to their Shenra for HP software. And you do need to purchase the Shenra for HP software, and Sylvia mentioned we do have an OEM agreement in place where we can sell that software directly through HP, or you can purchase through Shenra. But in either case, the new version, 8.6, which is available around the same time that 11.5.2 was released, enables us to to work with network characteristics much more granular than we could before. So from a single load generator, we can virtualize multiple network conditions or types within our test scenario. So from the controller, I can define, for example, 3 groups that are all running on a single load generator, and each of those groups might have a different set of network conditions. Group 1 might have 3G from London to New York. Group 2 might have 4G from London to Paris, and Group 3 might be over Wi-Fi. And we can get down to the very granular level on how we define those conditions. We also have access to Shenra's global library of network conditions, which is in the millions of different network types and settings. Or you can use Network Catcher or Network Catcher Express, which is actually a free app that you can download on your mobile device in Android or iOS that allows you to capture the network conditions from any network, and then you can send those to yourself along with a report to be used within your LoadRunner scenario. And that's a story available in LoadRunner and Performance Center.
Why would one select TrueClient over older HTTP web protocols?
It's an excellent question. Each has its merits, and there's trade-off in working with one over the other. So if you're familiar with HTTP and you're comfortable in that, and you have plenty of time to work with those applications, then HTTP is a very capable protocol and the standard amongst many performance test engineers. TrueClient aims to tackle some of the problems introduced by working in agile environments. We need to test sooner. We have less time to prepare our tests, and then we can't deal with any of the complexities that are associated with transport level tests, such as data correlations, when we have complex data that need to correlate from the recording to the playback. TrueClient doesn't require any data correlation, and instead of the code that you would see in web HTTP protocol, you work with just user actions, as I'd shown in the demonstration. So it's much higher level, and it's much easier, much quicker to create tests in TrueClient than it is in web. Now, the downside to TrueClient is that it loads the entire application into memory, which is great for telling developers where problems might lie in their application. If it's picking up a gigabyte of memory for each virtual user, that's a great time to have a conversation with the developer. But it means that you can run fewer of those virtual users from a single load generator. So it requires a little more resources to get the job done. But what I will say there is, as a best practice, for many years we've told users to try and mix approaches. So if you look at any application, chances are the majority of your load comes from very simple activities. I'll take internet banking as an example. In any internet banking site, you have probably 85 to 90% of the users simply log in and check their balance. It's a very simple set of activities. And you could create that much higher volume of virtual user load using web HTTP users, which probably don't change very much from release to release. Now, the rest of the virtual users, 10 to 15% that are going through much more complex set of activities, would be a good candidate for TrueClient, because they're easier scripts to create, and it gives us the delta between the network layer of our web virtual users and the true client users, which give us the full user experience in our results. So my suggestion would be, depending on your needs, you might use web or true client or both. But if you can, as a best practice, I would suggest combining the two approaches.
What is the upgrade process from 11.5.1 to 11.5.2?
It's simply a patch. It's all patches in LoadRunner are cumulative, so if you're coming from 11.5.0 or 11.5.1, you simply need to install the 11.5.2 patch.
I just want to make a pause here to also mention in July we are going to be doing a webinar regarding version 11 to 11.5.2 upgrade for Performance Center. We are going to be sending some additional invitations, so be aware about that webinar as well. Yeah, go ahead, Scott. I mean, we are almost running out of time, but I would say just go with one more question, and then we are going to follow up with the questions offline.
All right. So the last question will be, we had problems with SOAP version 1.2 and VU Gen 11. Does 11.5.2 handle SOAP version 1.2?
Probably too technical for this conversation, but there are ways to work with SOAP 1.2 that I would suggest taking a look at service test as an engine for creating those scripts, and those service test scripts are fully supported within LoadRunner scenarios.
All right, so that's going to be the last question for today. We're going to take the rest of the questions offline, and we will post those answers out onto the Vivit website. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank the presenters for presenting and all of the attendees for attending this LoadRunner webinar.
Thanks, everyone. We are going to see you soon. I appreciate your participation.